Welcome, Ogres and Owlins, to episode 36 of Dion Rising. This right here is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play campaign brought to you by the Knights of D20. These fine fellows. Hi. As usual, before we begin mourning dead necromancers and revealing dark secrets, we have a few announcements brought to you by my friend who gets unusually excited over the death of beloved characters. Bobby, what do the good people need to know?
I only have one little bit of news for you this week, and that's that I am dragging our big cat to tea time. We're gonna bring him in. We're gonna get to the juicy bits about how Zada's feeling about emotional things that are happening, and see if we can't get past that rough exterior. We'll see. I can be relatively somewhat persuasive sometimes. But that's all I have for you today, Dungeon Mother, so we're just gonna kick it right back to you so we can get this show on the road.
Cool. Thank you, Bobby. And thank you all again for joining us as we embark on an epic adventure in the world of Dion, where heroes rise, dangers abound, and legends are born. Players, dice at the ready. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. I like that.
Almost threw out my shoulder doing that, but
always with the shenanigans. Okay. In episode 35, the heroes continued the long, difficult fight against the fake Maynote, enduring both real and magically induced nightmares, as they tried to pin her down long enough for ally Xerath to keep the arcane signature device active. Maynote was indeed revealed to be a dark and terrible sort of shape changer, posing as the Admiral and Counselor to an unknown and likely nefarious end. Though the shape changer escaped, the group was able to detain two of the closest officers of the false Admiral, one of whom slept through the entire flotilla battle, and the other of whom was apprehended by lower naval forces who came to the battle late and, luckily, bore witness to Maynote's unveiling. The victory did not come without a great cost, however, as Seraphina's old rival and recent paramour, Xerath, fell victim to one last scorched earth attack from Maynote, dying before Marway could revive him. We open tonight, a few hours later, the sun having just dipped below the horizon, beginning a rare night with no moon, and neither of the other two heart planets visible in the night sky. And even the stars seem to sort of blink out and back into life beyond the mist of cooling air settling on warm ocean waters. And though you stand with a small crowd, no sound is heard but the deep push and pull of ocean tide brushing in against rocky cliff face. Here outside the city, away from the lit street lamps and warm, hospitable window light, those of you without dark vision don't need to be able to see your companions' faces to know what you would see there. A body, shrouded in black, rests in front of you upon a cold pyre, waiting. Seraphina, you can feel more than hear Eidos' calm, grounding breathing to your right. And you feel a hand tentatively take yours on your left. Sylvie's hand is ice cold. You can feel her shakily fighting back sobs next to you. Not many others have been able to be here on such short notice, but your family and Rinrock and Bess and the handful of other allies in the city came when you all sent Kittenberry with the horrible news of what occurred today. You realize someone needs to try to contact Xerath's family, if he has any. You haven't asked. Why didn't you ask? His colleagues at whatever ancient ruin he came from need to know too, before the arcane oversight laws brought him back to Nurdistand one last time. Marway doesn't make everyone wait long. He moves out from beside Bula toward the pyre, looking too much like he knows the grief of loss intimately. Marway, how do you begin Xerath's funeral?
The first thing Marway is going to do is approach the pyre, and with Druidcraft, we're going to create several flowers around him, so that maybe if not as somber, it can at least be somewhat beautiful. And he's gonna turn around to speak to everyone. Today, we say farewell to this soul. As he leaves us, let us not be drowned in sorrow, but comforted that that those we lose are still with us, even if we cannot see them. Zereth was a man of immense knowledge and a courageous heart with boundless bravery. I knew him only for a short time, but the joy that he brought a close friend of mine was a delight to behold. The weight and fear of expectation reduced by his presence, a genuine smile brought to light by his words. I would like to think that I learned a lot from him in this short time. I once asked him if he could speak to my mother. I am comforted now, however, that she will be there to aid him in this next journey of his time in this universe. And that she will have one more good soul by her. If anyone wishes to say anything or honor him, please come forward.
Seraphina will step forward and adjust her veil, like covering her face so you can't see her tear-stained cheeks. And more so addressing Zareth as opposed to the people in the crowd. She gets close to his body lying on the pyre and looks down at him and says, I'm so sorry. I should have never let you gotten so close to that knockoff Maynote. Your bravery and your perfect abs won't be forgotten. And then she turns around and stands next to Eidos.
Yeah, Eidos will squeeze her shoulder. That was beautiful. Much like Zareth. And gives another squeeze, and he'll walk forward. And like Seraphina, he doesn't address the crowd either. He instead just, from a small bag he's wearing, will take out a silvered bowl and a glass flask full of ink. And he'll pour the flask into the bowl and take a finger from his right hand and run ink down both of Zareth's eyes and say, so that you may see our people carry the torch from this moment to eternity. And then he'll put his whole palm in the ink, lift Zareth's right hand, and hold it to his own. And he'll wrap a black ribbon around them and say, so that our hands may move in your honor from this moment to eternity. And he'll kind of just stand like that for a while, a couple minutes, until he undoes the ribbon and places Zareth's hand back on his chest and gathers up the stuff and takes his place back with the rest.
Killian will walk towards the pyre, and he pulls out a dagger from his side and pulls his cloak of the Protectorate in front of him, and he begins to cut a large swath of it from the very bottom fringe, a very long strand, and he ties it around the dagger and kind of places it onto the pyre next to Zareth's body. And he says, I'm sorry, my friend, I was not able to protect you. Take this part of me to the afterlife, where I'm sure I'll be able to protect you there. And Killian will step back.
I guess then Zada will come out and he'll just go forward and say, didn't know you very well, Zareth, but we did fight together, and that means a lot. So, in the honor of my tribe, I will do what as I give to any person that falls in battle. And he'll grab a big lock of his mane, and then he'll get a dagger and just cut it right off. He says, from my hair, I give you the earth. And then he gets the dagger and then slashes down his paw. He says, "From my blood I give you fire." And then he wipes his eyes. He says, "From water I give you my tears." And then at last I will use my daunting roar. And he says, From air I give you my voice. And may these help you find your place in the afterlife. And then he'll just walk back and stand behind Seraphina.
And Bula's gonna go up and she's gonna kind of rifle through her bag for a minute. And she's gonna pull out a sizable turkey leg. And she's gonna lay it next to him. Said, "So that you don't get hungry in the afterlife." And then as she kind of turns away, she just says, "It was a brave warrior's death." And then she joins everyone back.
Closest
Sylvie.
friends. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sylvie is one of the only ones outside of your group who approaches the pyre. And she just spends a minute kind of whispering, sort of conversationally near him, low enough that it's not easy to hear what she's saying specifically. When she turns back to you all as a group, she sighs a large sigh, and it seems that she said what she needed to say as she rejoins Seraphina and nods to Marway.
Closest friends of Zareth, I would ask that you come forward as we bid our final farewells.
And Sylvie squeezes Seraphina's hand reassuringly one more time and looks to Ados and gestures for you both to take a corner of the pyre.
Seraphina takes her place by his head.
Ados stands by the other end.
As they're doing this in the silence of people just kind of moving about and getting into place, you just hear this strange, almost haunting, kind of mountainous, sad tune, and realize that Bula's singing an old funeral song from her people, and her voice is deep and low and smoother than you would expect as she fills the silence with the haunting melody of grief.
And with you after a few moments, Sylvie begins, almost dissonantly, but not quite, and just as melancholy, singing an elven mourning song in her native tongue, sort of joining you and weaving in and out of your tune and melding with your deeper voice. And she looks at Marway.
Marway is going to let them know that it is time, and he's going to raise his hand towards the pyre, ready with control fire to ensure that the flames stay contained and peaceful.
Seraphine and Ados, you both see Sylvie give you both a nod as she casts a fire cantrip to light her end of the pyre, and looks at you two to do the same.
Seraphina will use Firebolt to light her side.
Yeah, Nados also casts Firebolt to light his.
And as the flames slowly at first engulf the pyre, steadily rising under Marway's fire-controlling magic, you all take a moment to adjust to the light. Seraphina, you especially feel like you need to rub your eyes and maybe even take a step back, even behind your dark veil. So you do so, and soon you regain your composure. The fire is an awful sort of beautiful, Marway's magic both feeding and sustaining it. And you think you can see your brief time with Zareth in the flames. An impromptu duel in a courtyard pond, spurred on by old rivalries and insecurities. A first brush of your hands walking home from a strange and exciting dinner. the silent laughter in his eyes as your father drones on about nothing important in the dining room. Scenes that aren't memories begin to play out too. Zareth helping you decipher ancient texts in the deep stacks of a library. The two of you venturing together into a ruined city, seeking new answers to old questions, always chasing adventure. Dancing with him, in his arms around a campfire. Stepping over the threshold of a new home together. Matching rings on your fingers, maybe. The weight of an entire life that won't be lived settles on your shoulders and in a deep part of your heart as a friendship is gone. Time and the fire burn on for the better part of an hour. Mourners approaching in turns to throw trinkets of luck and rest and safety and joy onto the pyre. Finally, as Marway begins to release his magical grip slowly on the fire, and it begins to reduce to embers, the smell of smoke sweetens to a floral note, and from the smoke a lithe and regal woman seems to take Zareth's hand from yours and leads him deep away into the cinders and coals, guiding him in spirit away from this world to finally rest. Eventually, the crowd starts to dissipate. Seraphina, your mother and father, come up and from either side of you with Cedric behind, a hand on your shoulder. Turn your way back to the city. And a procession begins. As the rest of the fire goes out, nothing but ash and smoke left. And you head back into the city for a long night. Where do you think, after all that's transpired, you would lead your group, Seraphina?
I think Seraphina would just excuse herself to find some time alone.
I think your parents sort of sensing that need and feeling a bit more secure with Maynote out of the picture, bring you all back to the minaret. And it, though looking a little bit less well kept in your family's absence over the past few days, home is a welcome relief, a tonic in a way. And you manage to make it to your room as the rest of your group sort of look at each other in the foyer, wondering, where do we go from here? Do you all head to your own quarters to sleep?
Yep.
What time of the day is it?
It's nighttime. It would be like 10 or 11 at this point. You all waited until the sun went down to begin the pyre. And it is the same day as the battle on the flotilla. The same night.
Killian will go over to Bula and just say, Bula, that was lovely singing you were doing at the funeral. Truth be told, I wasn't expecting such a smooth and melodic voice coming from you.
Well, I don't know about all that, but you know, we send our warriors off right.
And was that song of your native tongue?
Yeah. Just an old orc hymn.
It was quite beautiful. Very fitting.
Just wanted to offer what I had.
And Kayla would just kind of tap her on the side of her arm there, and he's gonna head over to see Lord Blackthorn. But I'll let other people go if they want to do something.
Yeah, I think you said we're all at the minaret.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless you would have broken off from the processional and gone somewhere else.
No, I don't think so. I think Eidos is just going to raid the wine cellar, bring up a couple bottles, and set up camp in Seraphina's tea room. Just pour a glass for himself, and anybody else who wants one can kind of sit next to the fire.
Yeah. That'll join you.
Killian, you find Lord Valerian kissing his wife on the cheek and giving her a hug as he sends her up to bed, and he hangs back, and as Ados passes by with multiple bottles of wine in his hands, he picks up a glass off of a dishware set and holds it out for Ados to pour him a drink as Ados passes before you go upstairs. And he sees you sort of hovering, Killian, and he motions you into sort of a sitting cigar room, noting that you look like you have something to talk about.
Yeah, Killian will just kind of he'll kind of remain standing, just kind of absorbing everything that happened today. And he'll just look over to Lord Blackfoot and says, "Well, a lot of things happened today. I'm sure the craziness of the city is still, well, I'm sure the city is still quite tense. But I was wondering if, what happens next for Nurdistand?"
Well, indeed, my boy, it has been quite a day, and well, I wish I had the foresight to know what would come in with the morning light, but I feel you made a significant mark on Arendriel's future today, and I hope that will go a long way in repairing some of the trust the city has now lost with our people.
Well, I wish I could be at ease, but the imposter Maynote got away.
Indeed. I fear that whatever the imposter was trying to accomplish is far from over. But at least we now know the enemy we're fighting and a bit more about how to prevent another coup like this in the future. I hope that with the foresight of knowledge, we can rebuild together some stronger defenses against this sort of incursion.
And did they ever find the real Admiral Maynote?
No, since, well, I suppose I don't know. I came as soon as I heard from Kittenberry what had occurred back on the flotilla, and I haven't had a chance to catch up with anybody since, but I do plan on going and speaking to my contacts at Luminara in the morning and see if we can't transport in the other counselors from their respective cities so that we can get to the bottom of everything that happened and give them the most accurate and timely report we can to try and figure out how to find the true Admiral Counselor. I do hope she remains alive and well.
I hope so as well. If you need a witness statement, do not hesitate to ask.
I will be taking you all up on that, I believe. As far as witnesses for what has transpired, I think it might take a bit of convincing, but you all have the due diligence of finding evidence and witnesses alike, so I do hope people will see sense and reason, and we may build back stronger.
And, well, I mean, this might be a little bit soon to say, given everything that's happened, but are you wanting Seraphina to stay here in Nurdistand with you and the family?
Well, you are, sort of a bit insightful, I think, Killian, to ask. I had been planning to ask her not to leave, and I'm glad to be sitting here with you now. We haven't had a chance to have this discussion, but seeing what I've seen and knowing what I know now about the sort of danger you all find yourselves in time and again, my daughter is her own person. She has obviously grown into a woman I can neither predict nor entirely understand many days. And I've never been more proud of my own child than I am right now, and he starts to choke up a bit. You can see, the weight of all that's happened is really starting to hit him. He says, I would see my daughter safe, but more than that, I would see her happy. But if I cannot convince her to stay here with her family, which I'm sure I will not be able to, it seems she has the heart of an adventurer and the spirit of a warrior. And I fear that she will be seeking out whatever answers she needs without our support. But regardless, I need to know that you will not abandon her in this sort of danger that you find yourself in, or whatever future may come. That she has a family out there with her, even if it's not the one here in this tower.
Kind of hearing those words, Killian will. Is he Lord Blackthorn? Is he sitting down, or?
Yeah, he's like, you're used to this man having impeccable posture, really alert and astute and engaged. He is fully deflated in this armchair, a large, like, wing-backed armchair, all the way slouched down. A glass of wine that he had Ados pour him, but he hasn't really touched, sort of rests in his hand.
Killian will stand up directly in front of him, and he'll go down on one knee and kind of brandish the cloak of the Protectorate over like one of his shoulders, and just says to Lord Blackthorn as he stares at him directly in the eyes, he says, "Lord Blackthorn, on my oath as a member of the Protectorate of Oasis, as long as Seraphina Blackthorn travels in my party, I will do my best, and I will protect her as long as she'll have me by her side."
He claps a surprisingly frail hand on your shoulder, and a single tear escapes. But he and I take that oath with trust and with the knowledge that you are capable of doing so. I thank you, Killian.
It's been a very, very long day. I will leave you to your peace. And Keelan will get up and head back towards wherever he can hear everybody.
I thank you, my boy. I mean, he just turns to a low fire. Bula Marway, where have you two headed?
Marway, I think, would have gone to the room that Bula and him share. And I think he would have just been sitting at the window looking up at the stars.
Bula, knowing that he's already seen so much loss and that it hits him in a different way, she kind of clocked when he slipped out and went upstairs, and she followed behind quietly, and gave him some time when she saw that he was okay, just looking at the stars. She thought perhaps maybe he was talking to his mother. And then after she gives him some time, she comes in to check on him, to really make sure he's okay and kind of help him just kind of get ready for bed and try to put the day behind him.
Ados in the tea room. Kittenberry has followed you in and poured herself a glass of white wine and used a little cantrip to chill it and drink it down quickly before pouring another, before she asks him. Ados, my friend, please be honest with me when I ask you this. Did I make a mistake leaving to get Maraway rather than coming to the flotilla to help? I don't know, I feel I could have maybe done something or tried something. I made a hasty decision, and it cost someone.
No, you can't think that way, Kittenberry. Imagine if you hadn't made that decision. Who knows what else could have happened. And he'll point over to Yuzada and say, hell, it could have been you. You went down for a second. It could have been any one of us, so maybe Maraway was exactly what we needed to change the tide of that battle. Maybe it could have been a lot worse, so you didn't do nothing. You acted according to your best judgment, and it was a good decision. None of this is your fault.
Yeah, what ifs don't ever help a warrior. It's what happens that you learn to take stock. And I don't think what you did was, and with the information that you had, I think it was a perfectly good choice that you did.
I think it is clear. I am not a warrior, not as you all are. And so I try. I am likely never going to be. And I've spoken with Sir Killian about this a time or two, but I think I need to stay here. If and when you all move on, I don't want to abandon my friends, my very best friends in the world at this point, but at least here you know where to find me safe if you need my help.
Yeah. If that's what you want. You could, if you wanted to come to the next continent, you could stay with my tribe if you want to get stronger. They definitely have a way of doing that, but if you wish to stay here and study magic, then that's definitely something we don't necessarily do over there.
Oh, I did not think I would fit in very well, sir, but I thank you for the hospitality. Zata, I do appreciate that offer. I also think it would not behoove me to be without the pleasures of city living and shopping. You know me too well now.
I think that would be a most wise decision, Kunberry. If something like this should happen to you or any one of us, I'm not sure how much of this path I'm willing to walk. So, in the interest of keeping you safe, I think that you should stay or do whatever you want. But we're not going into safer waters. That's for certain.
Well, with me here, you have an easy contact for if and when you need things that Seraphina's family might not be able to offer, as far as sneakery and thievery and the like, blowing up jails and whatnot. Seems to be my specialty.
Now that you're good at, and
I
definitely
am,
explore that space.
Hopefully they have a blowing up jails class at Luminara.
If not, you could teach it.
That's an idea. But they do say if you can't do teach, and I obviously can do, so it will really have to be a hands-on experience, I think.
It's always a good way to do it.
I'm sorry, I think I am covering my grief with laughter and jokes. She finishes her second glass of wine and says, if you would, gentlemen, please do not tell the others yet that I will be staying. I would like to be able to tell them myself when the time is right. I don't want to add to the weight on their shoulders right now.
Of course. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you for your candor and honesty, always. I must go to bed. I will see you all in the morning, and we will figure out what to do next here in my new city. Good night.
Good night, Kinberry.
Night.
She sweeps away. Does anybody have anything else they need to accomplish before you end your nights?
Yeah. I'm gonna get some wine, grab it from Eidos, one of the mini bottles he has. He's like, I got to go do a thing. And then he's gonna go walk up to Seraphina's room. And then he'll just kind of... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. How do we find you when Zada knocks at the door? What are you doing?
Seraphina's just been in bed, crying and just trying to sleep away everything that's happened. And so as she hears Zada knocking at the door, she's kind of frazzled, and as she opens it, you see her eyes are just red and puffy. Her makeup's streaked everywhere.
Zada will have a glass and just kind of offers you a glass of wine, and then he has one for himself. And he's like, do you have a minute to talk? I know you probably don't want to, but just a moment of your time, if that's okay.
Seraphina will take the glass and just silently nod as she's kind of like choking up.
Zada will enter. He's like, in where I'm from, when somebody passes, we do honor the dead, but we also look out for the people that are left behind. And in my tribe, we give something that is to the person as strong as we feel as the thing that they lost. So I don't have a lot of possessions with me, but I can offer you something that is very dear to me, if you would listen.
Seraphina just looks down and nods.
So Zada's just gonna kind of like stretch a little bit and then like kind of down his glass, look for somewhere to sit. I guess like sit on like the edge of your bed, and he'll kind of look at you and sigh and say, "In where I'm from, I fell in love with my best friend." His name
Seraphina
was-
just starts crying.
His name is Dethos. Dethos Summerground. He is my greatest friend. We were just, good friends one day, and then just one day I just saw him and I didn't see my friend anymore. I saw somebody that I truly admired and, fell in love with. It just happened that fast. I didn't even know it happened. And I've never told anybody that. And I hope that secret that I've been holding is a gift equal to what you've lost today. And if you want, you can ask any questions that you want of him or me. But, yeah. Dethos. Part of the reason I left my tribe.
Seraphina sits a little closer to Zada and takes his paw into her hand and squeezes it. And she just silently has tears streaming down her face, and she says, "Thank you. I'll have to take you up on your offer.
Of course.
Maybe another night."
Oh, of course. I just wanted to give you that. I'm sorry what happened, but I'll always be here for you. And like I said, people in my tribe, we watch out for the people that are left behind. And I will be here for you whenever you need me.
She says, "Thank you," and her voice cracks a little bit.
I'll kind of give her a hug. He's like, "Well, we're good friends. Plus, you're my pupil. Teach you how to fight and survive. And unfortunately, I wish I could promise things will get better, but probably get worse. But I'll be here for you for whatever happens."
Seraphina's been holding back from crying, but as Zada kind of pulls her into a hug, she starts crying openly, and sobbing into his shoulders, and after a few moments, she pulls away and bids him goodnight.
All right. I'll be here if you need me. And he'll kind of get up a little bit awkwardly and kind of give her like a comforting pat on the shoulder, and he'll just kind of nod to her and he'd take his leave for the night.
She'll quietly close the door behind him, brushing away her tears as she closes the door.
Right. And eventually the rest of you find your way to uneasy but very much needed sleep. So I'm going to go ahead and let you all take your long rest on your character sheets, considering we haven't done that since this 2-episode battle.
I need it.
Get those spell slots back, baby. All right. As you do so, morning dawns. Before you know it, unfortunately, for some of you. It's probably a restless night, I think, for many of you. You've all been through it in the last 24 to 48 hours. So, waking up in the city of Arendriel on a new day, a new dawn, as you can feel the tension of what is next. Sort of palpable, especially in this tower, Seraphina's home. And as you get ready for the day, come out into the hallways, you can start to hear, even just through multiple floors of space, many, many voices downstairs. Not in a panic by any means, but certainly in a rush to make plans, figure out next steps. You're keenly aware that the Blackthorns rose early and got straight to work, trying to salvage some of what has gone on. How do you all begin your morning? Where do we find you each?
I think Maroway is going to be journaling, as he does most mornings. But unlike most mornings, I don't think he's going to leave the room.
Zada will probably go down to the kitchen, get food and whatever he can find for Seraphina for her breakfast, and then kind of like go give it to her. Kind of like wake her up, see if she's doing, and then kind of give her breakfast, make sure she's getting something to eat.
As Zada wakes Seraphina up, you kind of see her. She's still wearing what she was wearing last night, just very disheveled, and her eyes are all just really puffy. She can like barely see through them. And her voice is kind of raw, and she says, "Thank you," and she takes the plate and closes the door to get ready for the day.
So as Zada walked by with food for Seraphina, that woke Bula up because she smelled it. She's like, food's on the move. So she kind of checks on Marway, sees that he's journaling, and she just tells him that she'll be back. And she heads on down to the kitchen and gets all the breakfast meats for her and then all the breakfast veggies for Marway, and she brings them back to the room.
Killian will start getting dressed for the day, putting on his armor, his clothing, and as he goes to put on his protectorate cloak, he just holds it out in front of him, seeing how after yesterday's events, it's now just a little bit shorter. Kind of takes a deep inhale, exhales, throws the cloak over his shoulders and packs his belongings up and heads out to find something to eat.
I think for once, Ados has been up bright and early. He's down in the kitchen, and he has one of the servants bring up Seraphina's favorite herbal tea that she would drink in the mornings when they were younger, and have Iverson take the tea to her room, and just kind of wait for people to come down, and also keep an eye out for where Lord or Lady Blackthorn might be. They're still in the area.
Seraphina will open the door to take the herbal tea, and as she's sipping and getting ready, she is getting dressed in all black still this morning, just still feeling the grief from losing Zareth. And as she's getting ready for the day, she will sort of like look in the mirror, and for the first time in a really long time, she will take out the barrette that she's been wearing to keep her hair blonde, and she sets it on her vanity, and she kind of like plays with her hair to kind of style it as best as she can, and she takes a deep breath and heads out into the hallway to prepare for the duties of the day.
Okay. Okay. As you head downstairs, you see your mother on the first floor, like sort of in the central antechamber near all of the big offices. And she has never looked more in control and authoritative than in this moment, and that is saying something because she is control and authority in this city. But she has come back to her home, into her office, with full flying color. You see she is having heated, not angry, but heated conversation with a few members of the Triune Guard, sort of the city and Erendril sort of like police force, their guard units. She looks not like she's been well rested. She is still in the same clothes you saw her in last night at the pyre. As you approach, you can still smell the pyre smoke on her almost, as if she has been actively working all night. And she sees, I think you and Ados probably approach together as everybody else is still upstairs getting ready and trickling down. She turns to you and she says, Seraphina, darling, come here. We have much to discuss about what to do next with the two quote-unquote so-called naval officers that we apprehended, the ones who you were in battle with, and these gentlemen have some questions for you since you were there.
Seraphina takes a deep breath and straightens her shoulders, and she asks her mother what needs to be done.
She sort of like defers to the guardsmen, and one of them, who appears to be in the sort of uniform of a ranking officer, turns to you and says, puts a big hand out to shake your hand, and he's a human, but he's huge like an orc. Like, he is just a stack of a man. He offers you his hand and he says, Durs Gorfang, my lady Seraphina, is it? I first of all need to apologize on behalf of the city for the turmoil and trouble that your family has gone through the past few days. As you can imagine, there are many questions about the Order of Authority and what it means to be a functional nation when one cannot question the authority of their higher-ups when it comes to things like arresting every mage in a whole damn city. And he kind of like loses he's trying to look composed and sound really authoritative like your mother, but it doesn't last long before he sort of devolves into his sort of lower accent. He says, frankly, I don't know what the hell has happened over the last few days, and I'd be appreciative if someone could walk me through it. And he sort of like looks nervously at your mother as if she's obviously been trying to walk him through it, and he's still trying to catch up on exactly how everything has literally changed overnight. He says, we have already acted on the authority of the council, who are on their way to the city as we speak. The remaining council members, that is. They have given us permission to go ahead and release the mages from the mage break, and we are not sure what the status of their trials will be, if there will be any, and the arcane oversight laws will be called into question promptly, but in the meantime, we need to know how best to reestablish authority in the city. What is going on? How has this all happened?
Seraphina takes a moment to try to compose herself. So you're trying to figure out what's been happening just since yesterday? Did you hear about what happened on the boats?
Yes, so what your lady mother here has explained so far. The Admiral Maynote that arrived in the city, as far as she can tell, was not the true Admiral Maynote, and that the true Admiral has gone missing. We've already questioned many of the witnesses that were on the flotilla last night, and they all corroborate that they watched her change into some form of doppelganger or some sort of creature that can shape change. And that they themselves saw you all utilize the arcane signature. Can you corroborate that this is all true and valid? Would you stand up and report this, or at least put it in writing for the counselors to review?
Yes, of course. there was this arcane signature that we were using to compare with Maynote's casting, and we saw definitively that it was in fact not Maynote, and we are prepared to give our testimony or perhaps provide a notarized statement.
Well, on that note, the first thing before any kind of trial can be held or tribunal to figure out what the next steps are, we first need to figure out where the real Maynote is, if she is truly alive. She is one of the Council of Three, and the utmost haste needs to be taken to figure that out. So we have the two so-called officers from the Navy that were apprehended yesterday, and your Lady Mother has offered her services in an investigation. I do not feel I have the time to be briefed on the whole situation. I was hoping that you and your companions could be there for the questioning. I feel you have the most context.
Yes, Seraphina kind of like, her mind stutters, and she said, yes, of course, we can be available for whatever you need. When do we need to be ready?
If we can, the sooner the better. I would like to first attempt to figure out if they know where the true Admiral Maynote might be held, or if she's even alive. That way we have time to act if she is still lost or trapped somewhere.
Are you the one taking down her testimony?
I would be glad to, yes. If you could gather your group, whoever was there as eyewitness. We can do that, and then we can proceed into the room your mother has prepared where we're holding the two false officers.
Seraphina nods and turns to Eidos and says, we better get everyone together.
I'll go post haste. And Eidos will go upstairs to gather the crew.
Seraphina, your mom pulls you aside as Eidos leaves, and she nods to the officer, and he steps away to kind of give commands to a couple of his subordinates, and your mother says, Seraphina, darling, I'm sorry I did not take the time last night to see how you were doing. Are you faring, well, decently enough, my dear?
Seraphina just says, yes, decently enough, thank you.
Your mom has never been good at emotions or empathy, really. But you see her trying her best here. As she says, I know the boy Zareth was an old friend of yours, and it seemed you two had a special connection. And I am deeply, deeply sorry for the loss that you've suffered. I do feel if I had been there, maybe things would have been different, but we don't dwell on the past. We move forward, and right now, we have an opportunity to make his loss count for something, right? I would rather not it be for nothing. And we have a city to get a hold of before more hell breaks loose.
Seraphina nods and chokes up and says, we have a lot of important things to manage right now. We'll take care of it right away.
And we will make sure that you have the proper time to mourn after. Yes, I'm sorry that it has to be this way. I need you to be strong a bit longer. My brave girl. And she gives you a warm, tight hug. Very unlike her, especially in front of a crowd.
Yeah, Seraphina tries really hard not to start crying.
She does too, and as she backs away, she says, okay, this won't do. Let's go. Come on. We have work to do. She quickly composes herself again.
Yeah.
And you both look all the regal ladies that you are. As the rest of the crew heads downstairs, does anybody do anything before coming down with Eidos?
I think it would be clear to Bula that Marway is a little hesitant to go downstairs. But he will, but I think he is doing everything in his power to avoid Seraphina's eyes.
And Bula, seeing that, she just kind of leans down so that only he can hear her. And she just says to him, it wouldn't have mattered how fast you got there. when it's our time to go, there's no stopping it. And she just kind of squeezes him on the shoulder and kind of gives him a little kind of a boost. Kind of pulls him along with her.
All right. And the rest of you gather, and the Triune Guard captain comes back to you as a group and says, well, we have time to take a very quick statement, but I'd rather focus on questioning the 2 fugitives before we run out of time. I don't like that this so-called shape changer is out there on the loose, and we still don't have the 3rd counselor safely in our hands, so let's make this quick. And he kind of recounts the story he's heard so far to all of you and asks for confirmation, asks for additional details. Is there anything you guys add besides the obvious that he would know from Seraphina's mom, from Seraphina? Is there anything you don't tell him?
Ados would have mentioned them setting off a bomb at the prison, personally. But I think other than that, he's pretty forthwith.
Yeah, probably the whole exploding the prison is going to be left off the old witness statement there.
One would assume so. He collects your statements, and thereafter he turns to Lady Blackthorn, who says, well, I've prepared a sort of impromptu interrogation room. It has a zone of truth spell over it, so time is of the essence. Seraphina, darling, if you and your companions need a moment to figure out what exactly we need to find out from these people. And the guard captain says, yes, the priority is going to be figuring out where the real Maynote is, if they know, if she is alive, or if she is no longer with us. We are also going to need to figure out if they know a way to track down this shape-changer character. And even if we can, what sort of motivation they had in doing this coup. So, that being the priority, you are welcome to, since I am pulling in civilians to question apprehended fugitives, I'm going to give you free reign if you need details to figure out what you might not be able to glean through the official sources, so to speak. I will leave you the room. I am not saying use any tactic necessary, but time is of the essence, and the counselor's life is of the utmost importance to this nation. And as he's talking, he walks you all to the room that Seraphina's mother has prepared. As she looks at you, Seraphina says, do you want me in there with you, darling?
No, we can manage.
All right. Save the city one more time, my dear. I love you. And kisses you on the cheek and opens the door for you.
Seraphina steps through.
Inside, you see the one sailor who had fully slept through most of the battle thanks to a well-placed sleep spell, and another who fought to the bitter end, but was apprehended by the other sailors who came flocking in at the sound of Ados's thunder and lightning. So you have 2 of them. They are both shackled directly to steel seats that are bolted to the floor. They don't look like they've been trying to fight. They look exhausted, like they've been pretty much here all night. They look a bit like Seraphina's mother has already put in some work on them. A little bit of a preemptive weakening, if you will. And you note the sigil on the floor, a large rune. Those of you who know a lot about spells would recognize a Zone of Truth rune. That will last for 10 minutes. She cast it just before she brought you in here, so time is of the essence to get true answers from them. Keeping in mind, those of you who know spell work, they can try to avoid answering questions. It will not, prompt them to speak necessarily, but if they speak, it has to be the truth.
As Seraphina steps in, she will immediately cast Charm Person on both of them. So they have to make a Wisdom saving throw.
Nice, okay. Huh! I want you to know those dice are a 3 and a 6. So neither of those are gonna pass.
That's because they weren't expecting that.
They certainly were not. And they weren't expecting you either. So.
Hey.
Go ahead. They both, they get tense as you see the door opening and you all walk in. And then Seraphina, you see cast that quick spell, and you see them both sort of relax and smile at her.
Seraphina said, "So, is everyone in the room with me?"
Do you all go in?
Yeah.
Okay. Seraphina will say, "So, tell us exactly who you're working for and where Maynote is." The real Maynote.
Oh, the real Maynote. Good question. Well, I mean, it's kind of a long story. Do you have time? It's the one that was
Get on with
asleep,
it.
so he's clearly a little bit
Yes.
less, even with charm person, he's a little more susceptible to your charm, literally. He didn't see all the crazy stuff that happened necessarily.
Yeah.
He says, well, Maynote, that's a stupid name, isn't it? She's been Orvez for a while now, months, really, Orvez the Void Twister, now that's a name. You know why they call her that? Have you heard?
Why do they call her that?
She is a doppelganger, but not just any old doppelganger. They're rare to see, but these are even rarer. She's a void-born doppelganger. She claims to be born from nothing. And you know what? I've seen enough of her creepy shit to know that that's real. She is the most empty creature I think I can imagine, until she fills herself up with someone else like she did to Maynote.
So what is Orvez the Void Twister want? What is she trying to do?
She's bringing the oncoming storm, baby. She's bringing back our big ol' Leviathan. They're gonna turn this world back to what it should have been before the Dionic Wars, before this whole continent was all just grass and trees. She's bringing back the seas, and the tides, and the lakes, and the rivers. And she's bringing back the true god of the land and sea.
So, where is this Leviathan?
Oh, Varzal. He's asleep. Deep, deep, deep down, and where is he? He's in our dreams, girl. He calls us. Every tide, he calls us.
So is he in the sea?
He's in the Maw Trench. Deep there, ever since they put him there. In his long sleep. But he'll be back. We'll bring him back.
Okay, well, Seraphina will turn to Ados and be like, Maw Trench?
Would Ados have heard of it?
You all can, any of you can roll a history check hearing that. Go ahead and roll with advantage if you're from the Eastern Continent. Zata.
Oh boy.
Seraphina got a 19.
Bobby, was that a sad one?
I don't even know my own name at this point.
Bula just looks at him and goes, I don't know.
Yeah, I only got 12.
Killing at 14.
Okay, so those of you who got over a 14 or higher, you would know that the Maw Trench is this part of, it's this like water feature that's not very well understood, but it is a part of the Bay of Ilar. Ilar being one of the areas that Zata's tribe knows well and roams. Not that you would know much about the ocean, being a more grassland and desert tribe. But the Bay of Ilar is famous in that it is very difficult to sail through, and it's pretty well understood that that is because of the currents above the Maw Trench. It is extremely, extremely rough waters for being just a large bay. Lots of crazy storms. This trench is the cause of just like a very rough part of the ocean. And all this seafarers going in and out of the eastern continent have to avoid that whole bay in order to get to where they're going. So some of the time that means circumventing the whole continent to get to a certain city, or traveling by land, which is not safe specifically either.
And okay, so where's the real Maynote?
They look at each other, the two, and they go, well, I mean, she's been like right under everybody's noses the whole time. It's pretty clever. I was actually on duty watching her last week. She's up in that old lighthouse over by where the fleet's parked.
Is anyone
She won't be
watching
for
her,
long,
like-
though.
Why is that exactly?
Oh, we had a fail-safe. You know, we couldn't just let anybody find her and figure out what we were doing, so... Orvez told us if anything were to go sideways that we should get up there and go ahead and give her the old haircut, if you know what I mean. Although I don't know that anybody was really left to do so, but Orvez is out there somewhere, so... if she's feeling frisky, she'll get up there.
Yeah, hearing that, Killian's going to kind of rush outside and tell the officer or whoever was conducting
Oh,
that.
no, don't tell the officer! No, don't!
Yeah,
Oh, don't worry.
He's gone.
We won't tell anyone.
Good, okay. Yeah, that's good, that's good. Yeah, well, shoot, girl, I don't really know much more about anything, but... I mean, we're gonna bring Varzal back, and it's gonna change the face of this world forever. In a good way, in a good way.
How did you... Yeah, go ahead.
No, nothing. Go ahead.
How did you get mixed up in trying to bring Varzal back?
Well, I told you. He sings to us in our dreams. He dreams, and we dream, and our dreams mix. He's been calling out for eons, for centuries. Ever since they put him down in that trench, he's been calling and gathering up his followers, and he's got a whole army out there, girly, and we're just getting started.
Is there a way for you guys to recognize one another? Those in his army?
Oh, sure. We're called the Silent Tide, and that's just kind of how we managed to... We slip that into conversation. You know, the tide is really silent tonight. Something along those lines usually works. Although, it's not often we have to try and identify each other. Orvez gives us our separate orders, and we're pretty smart. We keep a pretty solid wall of secrecy so that none of us know too much. Sort of for times like right now, so no one can give away all this information.
Seraphina will turn to the other one and say, is there anything this one isn't telling me? That you know that he hasn't said yet?
He looks at him, and he says, well, he doesn't know about the seals. And to be frank, I don't know much about the seals either, but that's what we gotta get to in order to get the Leviathan out of the trench. We have to break the seals.
Okay, so
That's
not
what all
like
this
a
has been about.
seal?
No, although that'd be pretty funny. No.
Okay.
No, the seals.
Okay. How do we break these seals?
I don't know. That was above my pay grade. Orvez would know. You can ask her.
You know what kind of seals they are?
I mean, she just said that we had to break the seals. The seals are literally what sealed them down there, is what I always assumed she was trying to say. In order to get the Leviathan out, we had to break the seals. They're here on this continent. I can assume that much, because that's what we've been trying to do this whole time. At this point, you'll
Is
have
it-
like a minute left on the Zone of Truth spell.
Is there a seal in town?
Here in this town, no, we had to get further inland. That was the whole point of taking both the ports here and eventually down in Osled. We were going to meet in the
Seraphina-
middle.
Seraphina turns to the rest of the group and is there anything else we need to ask?
Yes. Where do you think Orvez is now?
Good question. Orvez is... Well, if she's not up there, lopping off the real Admiral's head to keep our secrets, she's probably far enough from here that it'd be hard to catch up with her. She's got to regroup and figure out a plan B.
Do you have a headquarters that you operate from?
Now we're from all over the place. The dreams, they stretch across the world.
What's it for Ados?
And you see the seal on the floor, the magical spell, start to slowly fade as it begins to dissipate. You have a couple seconds if anybody wants to squeeze in one more question. And though Charm Person doesn't wear off, they both kind of like look visibly afraid as they can feel the Zone of Truth sort of leave, and they're both just like realizing what all they've told you. They keep looking at Seraphina like, are these guys okay? We should have had this conversation without them in here, probably.
They're cool, don't worry.
If Orbez ever figures out that we hung out with you all and told you all this, she'll kill us. She'll kill us real fast, and she is everywhere and nowhere, so you might as well kill us here.
Well, you know, the tide is very silent today.
Roll persuasion. Roll deception. If you're trying to convince them that you're one of them, roll deception.
I have 21.
They both look more relaxed. They both are sure that you all are in on it. Very well done. Yeah, and you're welcome to. If you need to ask more questions, you can, but they both seem like they're racking their brains at this point for any other information you might need, and they've pretty much told you all that they know.
Okay. Maybe I'll say, where should we meet up with you? The rest later.
Well, like I said, we were gonna meet in the middle. I don't know exactly what that meant. Orvez was our admiral. She was gonna lead the fleet upriver, and we were gonna somehow meet in the middle and finish off the seals. I don't know what the plan B was, if there was one. Seemed like everything was going well until, things weren't going well. But I get that you're in on that now, so I assume there's a bigger plan that I'm not seeing.
Well, you know, I only have part of the plan, just like you. Would Seraphina, just based off of what she knows of the area, would she know where he's talking about? Like somewhere in the middle that's like upriver?
I'm not gonna make you roll for it because you are literally from this nation. You know that, Nurdistand has two major river ports. One of them beginning in Osled, and one of them beginning in Nurdistand. Neither of the rivers, they both, like the one starting in Osled runs from north to south and deposits in Osled. But it even runs like across the border into Namoon and like outside of Arendriel. So it doesn't quite like go to the middle of Arendriel by any means, but certainly into the middle of the continent. The one in Nurdistand you would know runs west or east to west from inland, and lets out in Nurdistand. And that one is a much shorter river. It kind of like is fed by a sort of highland, marshy rainforest area. So, I mean, you could feasibly piece together that like there might be like a middle point between the two, or where they would meet if they kept going further inland.
Okay.
But that's like a pretty rough acreage of space there.
Okay, I think Seraphina will kind of brainstorm with Ados, because he's kind of also familiar with the area, about where generally they might be referring to.
Sounds like we have quite a few options to choose from. These rivers are a little long. It could be anywhere. I think we need more information. Unless Benevolent DM, you think that Ados would have a clue based off that description.
I think that you two could easily go and find a map in your mom's office of the nation, marking the cities and sort of the topography. And you would note that, like, most of the cities and even, like, villages in Arendriel are, like, coastal or on major roads, and there's not even, like, a real, like, city in sort of the middle between those two rivers. Like, it is wildland in a big way. It is marshy, rainforest, highlands, very rainy, very high elevation. So it's a lot of wilderness in the area that you would be picturing. I would allow you to, like, narrow it down to that, but that's about as far as you'll get without knowing for sure where you're going.
At least brings us closer. We'll have a whole continent to overturn now. Or turn over, rather.
Well, thank you for your time, and we will see you in your dreams. She gives him a wink and walks out.
Was she hitting on me? I think she was. You should go after her. I'm chained to a chair as you close the door. As you wrap up that interview, let's take a quick 15-minute break. It's that time. So we'll be back at about 15 minutes until the hour, so 9:45-ish, 8:45-ish Central. We'll see you in a few. Come on back. Oh, welcome back, y'all. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for watching all the ads. I know that you went and bought all the things that they advertised to you because you are susceptible to advertising. Anyway, these guys had just interviewed some of the sort of lackeys to the fake Admiral Maynote, the shape changer, the voidborn doppelganger, if you will, trying to figure out what is happening in this nation and what's going on with these supposed seals that are keeping this supposed Leviathan trapped in his underwater trench grave. Things are not looking great based on what they've heard so far, but they don't have enough information to really act on anything specifically right now except finding the real Admiral Maynote. So I believe it was Killian who said after hearing where they were keeping her, you ran out and told the officers, correct?
Yeah.
So they immediately left as you did so, as quickly as they could. Y'all in chat messing me up. As quickly as they could to go try and find her. In the meantime, you all finish your interrogation, and you find Lady Blackthorn waiting outside for you. And once again, she says, "All right, well, next thing's next, I suppose. Seraphina, your father is at Luminara. He worked with his colleagues this morning to summon the two other counselors to his office so that we could, get our government back in order. So when you all have time, I don't think the rush is large. Hopefully they'll find Maynote alive and well and take her straight there so that she can report to the other counselors what's been happening. So you might have some time to kill, but I would appreciate if you would head there and once again, unfortunately, give your account of what's been happening to the Council of Three."
Seraphina nods and says, "Yeah, right away. I'll go find Dad at the school."
All right, I'm gonna stay here and continue trying to get business back on its feet. My absence was noticed over the last few days, unfortunately, as well as the absence of all the other mages that are just now able to get back to what they were working on before. So I'll be here holding down the fort, and you can find me if you need me, dear.
Thank you.
She rushes off and begins sort of barking orders to a couple of business associates.
With that, Seraphina is gonna head over to Luminara to go find her dad.
Okay. Are the rest of you accompanying her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. As you arrive, you head back toward Seraphina's father's office. And sitting outside on a bench in the hallway, you see Bess and Rinarok are sitting there. Your father's office door is closed, and you hear voices from inside, mostly masculine voices, but a few feminine voices conversing, and you can hear a conversation between your father and who you assume to be the counselors, and as well as a few other people whose voices you can't quite place, is happening inside. And Rinarok and Bess immediately stand as they see you coming, and Rinarok rushes over and pulls you into a big hug, Seraphina, and you feel his big furry minotaur head, his fur presses in on your face as he squeezes you so tight. My dear, I am so glad to see you alive and well. I can't imagine what you've been through these last few hours.
Yeah, just in a surprise, Seraphina hugs him back. And yeah, like leans into him and says, thank you. It's been terrible. I'm sure you know.
Seraphina, I am deeply, deeply sorry I dragged you and all your friends into this, and that led to the death of that Zareth fellow. He was a good student and a good person, and I've come to love him as another son in the past few weeks, and I will never be able to express my regret over what's transpired, but as I could have assumed, you all came through, and I think you maybe saved all of us from a fate worse than death.
Thank you for your kind words.
Now, step over here with me. We have some unfinished business to talk about. And Bess comes over to Maraway and sort of sits you down and starts quietly asking you for details about what happened. You're just sort of the most approachable. And she wants to know what's been going on in the flotilla, what happened. She wants the real story of what went down the day before. She asked the rest of you too, and sort of asking for, all the gory details, trying to figure out, gleaning who might still be alive, who was in the fake Maynote's pocket, that sort of thing. While Rinarok sort of walks you down the hallway a little bit of distance away, Seraphina. And he says,
yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
I know that we may not have a lot of time while you're in the city, and there's going to be a lot happening over the next few days, especially. So I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation, and I actually pulled in a friend of mine to this office, and he opens up a door, and you see this very uptight, pompous-looking, like wearing an ascot elf man. Is sitting. He's got like little round spectacles on the end of his nose, and he looks over at you. And Rinarok says, "Lady Seraphina, this is Quillith Andavar. You might have seen him around Luminar in your day. He's our curator of forbidden texts in the library." And Andavar stands up and reaches a hand out to shake your hand very gently, very softly. And he says, "I knew when you entered the city that things would go dark before they became light again. It's good to see that it wasn't long before the light returned." And he sits you down, and Rinarok explains, "You'll have to excuse Quill. He's a bit of a diviner. He has this creepy way of knowing what you're going to say before you say it. You ignore that about him." Quill scoffs at him and rolls his eyes. And Quill says, "Well, I don't have much time, Seraphina. What has occurred for me these last few days? When your father was arrested, I made a hasty retreat, you might say, with a few of my favorite tomes from the library, just to ensure they wouldn't, fall into the wrong hands. And he says, and Rinarok came to me yesterday in his downtime and said you had a few questions about the Yuan-Ti."
Yes. Yeah, we're trying to get more information about them. What do you know?
Well, I have this one text, and he reaches down into his satchel and pulls out very old, almost wooden covered book. and it appears to have been through it. Like, it looks like it's been waterlogged. It looks like it's maybe been burned. It is old as dirt. Like, pages are fully crumbling as he takes it out of his bag very carefully. Puts it on the desk and, like, brushes the dirt and stuff off of it. Very gingerly opens it up and flips a few pages very carefully. And he says, "Now, unfortunately, most of this account is unreadable, and the parts that are readable are just a rough translation at this point, but this is an account of war crimes, and we've dated it to a time shortly after the Dionic Wars ended. So I feel it is, while not being a first-hand account of the wars, it is still a source that is often quoted when speaking of the war and who fought for Dion and who fought for the uninvited ones." And he's got his glasses on the end of his nose, and he's flipping through and, like, running his finger along some of the text, the parts of text that are a little bit readable. He says, "This is one of the earliest mentions of the Yuan-Ti people. Here they are, it's roughly translated as serpent folk. It accounts that they were once beloved and quite influential on all of Dion. Although they appear to have committed some of the most significant and treacherous acts of war against the Dionic gods and their armies in the name of the goddess Dia, who is, as you know, one of the uninvited ones. That's Dia, D-E-A.
Okay.
It appears that this text accounts of a time that Dea gifted the most cunning and deceitful enchantress among them a boon that was capable of toppling entire armies from within. When the war turned in Dion's favor, the enchantress supposedly led her people east, and as of this writing," he flips a page to the next section of readable text, and pulls out, like, a separate, like, newer parchment where someone had, like, taken notes. "At the time of this tome being written, all are presumed dead of the Yuan-Ti, the serpent folk, though it states that any remaining of their kind should be apprehended and put to trial for questioning regarding their knowledge of the serpent folk's part in the wars. Thus is the will of Dion. Unfortunately, I don't have much more to share with you from this particular tome, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about any other background knowledge I might have on the topic."
Yes, you said the enchantress was granted a boon. Where's the enchantress now? Do you know?
It did say here that she, at the last it says of her, and the last that any text that I've ever found, this is the only text I've ever seen mentions this enchantress. Although some have said the word enchantress in this more closely translates to courtesan, a woman of love and of the people. Something along those lines. But others have claimed she was an enchantress. So where she is now is a mystery. This was several hundred years ago, so one would presume she was dead and that she died on the East Continent with the rest of her people. If that is indeed what this means by she took her people east. As far as accounts in modern day, there are varying bands of Yuan-Ti, mostly seafarers and coastal groups. They're very few and far between, quite rare, and don't often be in a community of more than 50 at a time, it seems. And they mostly keep to themselves.
If one were to go to the Eastern Continent, do you know where would one begin looking for stray Yuan-Ti?
He, like, chuckles at the term, like, stray Yuan-Ti. The historical text has told us that the Yuan-Ti were indeed at one point a beloved people. However, it would seem that times have changed them, and they are mostly nomadic and quite secretive about where they spend the majority of their time. They will come into civilizations to trade. So checking the port cities along the coast particularly the Bay of Ilar is somewhere that they can be found. As far as the land around the Bay of Ilar, of course, no one travels in the Bay of Ilar. Typically, the Lena Mirnis Peninsula, before the Undying Wood, is a spot where they will come in to trade and collect goods from the Middle Continent.
Okay, by the Undying Wood. That sounds ominous.
Have you heard of the Undying Wood?
I haven't. Can you tell me more?
Well, the Undying Wood is north of the Myrnasian Peninsula, which is where Lena Mirna herself landed an age ago to try to start to colonize the eastern continent. But the Undying Wood was already there and was already a roadblock by land, and the Bay of Ilar prevented landing by sea, at least without going around the long way, far north. The Undying Wood is bordered to the north by a great cliff wall that was built by human and humanoid hands in order to stop the spread of the Undying Wood, as it seemed to be pressing further and further inland and taking more and more territory. It is, I've never been myself, but it is said to be a place of terrible beauty and a place where very few come out alive. It appears to have some sort of ancient curse upon it, is what the predominant theory is. The kingdom of Wawasite claims dominion over the land, but none are able to actually access it easily. And the cliff wall stands as a guard between it and the major cities of the eastern continent.
I hope I can trust you, but I think my friends and I are headed there shortly to the eastern continent to search for the UNT. Is there anything you can tell us that might help us in our journey?
Well, he looks at Rinarok and he says, have you spoken to oh gosh, Nikara, I forgot his name. The tree folk,
I got you.
Oh, I know it.
Professor?
It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, Professor Mellowоak. Thank you. Professor Mellowоak. Have you spoken to Professor Mellowоak? He has expeditions that travel that way. I believe they make landfall in Verazrash, which is one of the strongholds along that cliff wall just to the north of the Undying Wood. So that is usually a launch point for people who try and venture into the woods, and where you'll be able to find supplies, support. I would not venture in without a local guide, someone who knows the land as well as anybody can and who lives in the area full-time.
Yeah, we did speak to Mellowoak. In fact, he's bringing us there along with his expedition, so yeah. We'll be sure to ask about the guides when we get there.
Yes, this would the only people who come out of the Undying Wood are those who go in with a guide, and even they can't make it very far, but if anybody has a chance to, from what Rinarok has told me about your activities here in Erendriel, I don't doubt that maybe you might make it further than most.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. This is very valuable information for our journey ahead.
Well, if I find anything else, I will be sure to let Rinarok know to contact you with any information I can share.
Thank you. And Seraphina will stand up and give a curtsy.
Okay. And soon after that conversation finishes, your father's office door opens up. And a bunch of naval officers come out, a handful of them, and give you all nods. A few of them stop and shake your hands, Killian and Maraway and Zada, having seen everything that went down the day before up close and personally. they move on quickly to go help try and find Maynote, you would assume. But they don't make it far when Maynote herself, and it kind of makes all your stomachs drop to see this face that has caused so much trauma. But she is being literally wheeled in a wooden wheeled chair device by the captain that was with you all at the minaret. And a plethora of other city guard, triune guards, naval officers. It appears the rescue mission was successful thanks to your very timely letting them know that she was up there and in danger. She looks... You all are used to seeing Orvez's impersonation of her. She is, like, a very beautiful younger woman. She's, like, maybe 35 or 36. Like, dusky hair, dark skin, the build of a sailor who has spent her whole life out there working hard. And she just sort of, like, as Orvez showed her, she has this natural authority and grace to her of a leader. But here in this chair before you, it is, for lack of a better word, void. She looks at you all, but has no recognition. Doesn't really say anything. But upon them wheeling her into your father's office as he opens the door for her, and the other two counselors who you're all seeing now for the first time, both rise from their chairs and gesture you all inside as they go and shake Maynote's hand and clap her on the back. And you all can find, there's a bunch of chairs that have been brought in here. You all can find some seats as everybody sits back down. The two counselors have been given sort of spaces of honor in this, like, medium-sized office of your dad's, behind the desk, and Maynote is wheeled up next to them. And they both spend some time sort of turned toward her, talking lowly. It's a small office, so you all know what they're saying. They're asking if she's well, if she's okay enough to have this conversation. Letting her know that they've been filled in on the situation, and they'll ask her soon. They'll talk to her soon about her experience personally, but that right now they all have to make a decision on what to do next. And on that, the dwarf counselor turns to you. He says, I apologize for the, rather unorthodox meeting, and, he seems to be totally at a loss for words, and just sort of naturally doesn't really know what to say. He basically just says, we usually have a bit more, structure in our dealings when we're all together. So I apologize that this is going to be a bit haphazard. I am Scott Mac Emberguard of the Emberguard clan. It is a pleasure to meet you all, and I want to start by thanking you all for the service that you've done for Erendriel and for Nurdistand, and for all the people of the Middle Continent. I don't think it can be overstated how much you have done and how much you have sacrificed to prevent what appears to could have been a true disaster. And the Elven counselor says, I am Counselor Bellinor Rorora. I am the Dockmaster of Nurdistand, and I regret that I was not here in my city to help defend it against this incursion, but I am here now, so let us speak briefly about what we need to do next. They both turn toward Maynote, who has just been staring down at the wooden desk in front of her. And she sort of, like, realizes they're both looking at her, and she glances long ways at them, and she says, I will tell you all what has happened to me. I have been in what I now know to be that lighthouse for weeks, possibly. Before that, they had me on my ship and brought me here from Azuled. The one you all are calling Orvez is capable of great and terrible, intrusive power. As it held me, it had to take much time with me to extract who I am and my memories. And she, like, sort of fades off. For a long time. The other counselors start to sort of shift. And the elven counselor, Aurora, leans in and says, Darling, if you can't talk about it yet, that's all right. We think we have a full picture of the situation. And Maynote sort of says, I'm an admiral before I am a counselor, and this is an act of war. And she turns to you all and she says, I have not had a chance to be completely debriefed about everything that has occurred, but from what I understand, I am only alive because you all intervened, put yourselves in harm's way, in the middle of my considerable fleet, risked the entirety of the Erendriel Triune Navy coming down upon you, watched your Lord Father be arrested and very likely nearly executed. Is this all your true testimony?
Yes.
It is.
Well, and she sits up a bit straighter, and she looks like she's trying really hard to be clear-eyed, but that she's literally just been living in her own memories by force for a long time now. So she seems partially here, partially not. And she says, allow me to confer with my fellow counselors for a moment, please. She asks them to take her out into the hallway. They all find another office, and for about 10 minutes they have time. They sort of debrief and have a conversation. You all are left there. Seraphina, your dad, leans in and says, Darling girl, I feel we are on the end point of what we need from you. What is it you need from me to finish your day today, if anything?
Not much that I can think of, honestly.
May I ask quickly? And he glances sort of over at Killian really fast. Do you plan to stay on in Nurdistand for a bit longer, or perhaps permanently? You know your rooms are always open to you. This has been an ordeal, and we are here to support you.
I was gonna talk to you about this later, but I don't think we'll be staying for long.
Swallows hard. He says, well, of course that's not what I hoped to hear, but I am unsurprised. You, have adventure to chase, yes, and I see the appeal now, but we'll talk later. He pats your hand as the office door reopens and the three counselors come back in. And, Aurora, very shakily, stands up out of the wheelchair, takes her place sort of in the center of the three, and says, let it be known across every coast and port that these brave souls are henceforth titled Stewards of Erendriel, Defenders of the Realm, and honored allies of the Triumvirate. Aurora says, in addition, myself and Counselor Embergard have agreed to fund the construction of a keelboat for you, to the end of defending all lands and all seas on Dion. And Counselor Embergard says, Counselor Maynote has graciously agreed to register your ship to be sailed freely under the Triune Navy flag with our protection. You will do with it as you please. This is our gift to you for doing your part as civilians, as people from Erendriel, as citizens, as people from across the world who have come together here to support a place that isn't even your home, to help us maintain the balance and keep our people safe. Maynote shakily sits back down and seems to go away again inside. And they say, we think we have what we need as far as information. we will be deliberating with the local leaders and with those back in Ozoled, trying to possibly restructure some of the chain of command of the Navy so that the downfall of one of us doesn't lead to the downfall of the nation. There's obviously some balance of power we need to reestablish. The Elven Counselor says, to that end, know that you are welcome back in Arendriel at any time, and if you need assistance, all you must do is ask for one of us by name, and we will assist how we can. From what we understand, you have a bit more left to do, and we will not stop you from doing so. With that, they seem to all sit down and take it as your dismissal.
Eidos will bow deeply, say, thank you for this great honor, and we'll do what we can to protect Nurdistand and Dion itself.
Embergard says, my guild will be building your ship themselves. In a few months' time, it should be seaworthy and ready for your taking on. It's not too big for you all to be its crew, but you're welcome to take on a crew on Arendriel's dime if you need. It only holds so many people, of course. We wanted it to be as fast and as steady as you all have proven yourselves. That being said, be sure to return to Arendriel in a few months' time to collect it, or write us if you want us to have someone sail it to you, if you are elsewhere in the world and need it promptly. At that point, you are welcome to name her, and she will be your ally on the seas.
Just throwing it out there, we should name it Longshoreman.
Gary Styles.
Gary Styles.
The boat.
The boat.
The boat.
Eidos will kind of punch Zada on the arm and say, we got a boat. Aren't you excited?
Yay.
And they all deeply bow back after Eidos, and they take Maynote and they make their leave, leaving you all in Seraphina's father's office, unless you're going to follow them out and move on.
Well, Eidos is going to stay put. Doesn't like to prolong conversations longer than need to be. But he'll turn to the others and say, okay, before anybody gets excited, whatever we name the boat, it's going to be permanent. So maybe we should take some time, look over our options, and make a smart decision. Maybe a tasteful one, even. Who knows?
Well,
Yeah.
we have a few
Bula
months.
laughs super loud, and she just like smacks him on the back and says, no worries, we're gonna name it after you, Gary.
We are not naming that boat Gary.
Gary
I said-
Styles.
I said
Oh, we can
tasteful.
call it Gary Sales. There you go. Gary Sales. Longshoreman. Gary Sales.
Absolutely not.
Very sales.
I don't ever want to hear that name ever again.
Eventually, Seraphina, your dad, stands and says, well, it appears we've been primarily dismissed, so shall we retire home?
So yeah, Seraphina nods, and she'll actually head out and see if Renarok is still in the hallways.
Yeah, I think him and Bess would be waiting for you.
I think she'll kind of wait for everybody to leave, and she'll linger to chat with Renarok just a little more before she heads out.
He nods to Bess and says, why don't you go and make sure they stay out of trouble for a little bit. She nods and goes after the rest of your group. So you're left alone with him.
She'll kind of look around, make sure her dad's not there. So I don't know if you remember, but when I first came to you, I was really interested in some information that you had about Adralis.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I've been looking into that too while you guys were out doing your thing. Come back to the library with me to my office. Let's go talk about it. And he takes you down to that subterranean, waterlogged library. Takes you into his office, unlocks it. He's been locking it lately, wisely. And he sits you down, and he has just like a notebook, a handwritten notebook that he's been taking notes in, and he just kind of flips around to different sections. And he says, so I had to ask around, kind of like I did with my other buddy that you just met. But I've been taking notes as I talk to people, so first of all, how did you get wrapped up in this Idrella stuff? This sounds a bit wild. Be honest with me, I'm not gonna judge.
I've just been, it's just an academic project I've been working on.
Well, I'm glad to see you're continuing your academic pursuits in life. So, what I'm seeing here is Idrellis was once one of the great dragons of Dion. It would appear that there's a handful of them still around, but Idrellis, from what the scholars say, and the people who have been lucky enough to walk away from any encounter with one of those dragons, they all seem to have this sort of deity-like worship of the one you're calling Idrellis. And, the things people say, the people who have heard of this Idrellis character, it's not like other dragons. You know, dragons are chromatic, or they're metallic, or they're this or that. But there's not really a word that we have to describe or to categorize what Idrellis is, or even if it's even if it's mortal, frankly. So I'm a bit concerned. This Idrella seems to be like a god of dragons, though we don't find any mention of it within Dionic text. So it's not like it's in the pantheon of the Celestials that we understand, as we understand it. But God is the word that the dragons will use for it.
And, okay, so, you said some people are lucky to survive an encounter with one of these dragons, or maybe even Idrellis himself. What do you think would let someone live through an encounter like that?
Well, dragons are famously very clever. They are as greedy as they are clever in many cases. One would have to use that to their advantage to survive an encounter with a dragon. You gotta feed the ego as much as you feed their horde. The people who have survived, I mean, they tell tall tales about how they did it, the great battle that ensued, but my guess is 9 times out of 10, it's just pure old luck and a little bit of fancy talking. And probably a big old payment to the horde. Not all dragons are like that, but many are, and while there are lots of different kinds of dragons on Dion, it seems these great ones are the ones that very, very, very few walk away from, and that's probably because of some sense of hero worship and someone being completely deferential to a dragon. You have to see them as better than you, and as you cannot see yourself as their equal, or you will surely die in fire or lightning or acid.
So let's say I had a friend who was, worshipping Idrellis and potentially just getting some powers through him. Do you know anybody who's, experienced that? Just so I can, help my friend out.
I'll let you roll deception with disadvantage. For a while, he's been letting you get away with these lies, but he's on to you.
Oh no, it was 13.
He's again just like shaking his head a little bit. He's kind of just he's enabling you at this point. I'm gonna pretend to entertain the idea that you have a friend who is getting power from this god of dragons, potentially. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would that or would that not make your friend a warlock?
I mean, I guess if you want to say technically, yes.
Well, Seraphina, listen. Sometimes we need to have more power than what we've got, and the world calls for us to use our power in a way that matters. I personally think that that's the most important thing to hold on to. I don't judge a warlock any different than I judge a sorcerer, or than I judge a wizard, or that I judge a fighter. Someone with no magic at all. We all gotta figure out what we're doing in this world and how we're gonna make it better instead of worse. Where you get your power is not something I'm gonna judge. Sorry, where your friend gets her power is not something I'm gonna judge her for. I think the question that she needs to ask herself is what she's doing with that power and how she's gonna manage to hold on to the tenuous grasp she has on it if it's not in her control anymore. Or what would happen if one day she were to lose it because of the whims of some godlike being.
Do you think,
Now, if she needed... Go on.
do you think it could get out of control? Is that possible?
I mean, darling, we've seen warlocks come and go from this school, and many of them have great relationships with their patrons, and many of them live long lives doing their patrons' bidding. Some of them don't hold on to that relationship as well. However, I think what we see with each of them is that no power is given by their patron freely, and that eventually the devil comes to collect the pay. And I don't know what one would have to do in order to pay off for the power of a dragon. And I worry for your friend that that price is going to be mighty steep.
I'll be sure to let her know.
You do that, darling, and don't let an old Minotaur professor tell you one way or another how to live. I just want you to be safe, and I want you to think to the future rather than what's happening right now. Sorry, I want your friend to do so, and I want that for you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know why this Idrellus might appear to my friend even in the first place?
Darling, would you have the time to tell me the story if you know it about how that happened to her? Give me a little context.
Well, I don't know all of the first-hand details, but according to her, she just happens to be a sorcerer like me, and, she was having some trouble in school here at Luminara, and I guess for some reason one day he appeared to her, and I don't know all the details about it. That's just what she told me.
Well, as I said, most beings with enough power to share collect their followers and they empower them for a reason, right? There's some goal, there's some end to be met. I would hope that your friend thought to ask what that goal might be. And if they didn't during that initial meeting, maybe your friend should think about asking sometime soon. Because I would rather know than not know what's down the road.
Okay. Do you have maybe any other advice for my friend?
My advice. And no being, even the ones as powerful enough to patronize a powerful warlock is infallible. I think even the gods themselves are not infallible. Figure out your enemy's weakness. That's what all the best heroes and all the best stories I've ever read do. Figure out what you can exploit. Figure out what you've got that makes you special besides what that dragon god has given you. Something separate, something that's just yours. Figure out how to use that to your benefit. And figure out why you need this power in the first place.
After a couple minutes of just contemplating on what he said, Seraphina will thank him for his time and say, I'll let her know. Thank you. And kind of like doesn't make eye contact.
He laughs and shakes his head. Miss Seraphina, it has been a genuine honor and a pleasure to know you better over these last few weeks, and I'm glad you came back to town when you did, and that I trusted you with what I trusted you with, and that we're here now, and that I have a true friend in you and of your companions. And I want you to know that if you ever need me, you're gonna come find me.
Thank you. Thank you. And she'll just like earnestly thank him for his time before she leaves.
Thank you, my dear. You likely saved my daughter's life. That's more than any city is worth to me. Earnestly shakes your hand, gives you a hug. Sends you on your way. He stays behind in his office and just sort of like leans back and lights a pipe. Seems to take the time to actually breathe after a long few weeks.
Yeah, and Seraphina will think about everything he said as she heads back to find everyone else.
Okay. Where does she find everybody else? Do you all go back to the minaret with Lord Blackthorn?
Just for me, do we have an address for Varmox?
Varmox the Southern. You left him back in the Underhill. From what you would assume, he'd still be there.
Wherever we go, I want to make a stop there first to talk to our good friend.
I'll go with you.
I also want to go with notebook at the ready.
No
Okay.
reason. I just, the Underhill's kind of a seedy place, and you might need protection there.
Yes.
So I'll go. I'll make sure nobody bothers you.
Yeah.
You
You don't
know,
want
I
to go, grab a new
appreciate-
sandwich or somebody. Somebody.
you never know what's in those things.
You
Come
know,
on.
we could go grab a sandwich for him. I think he would like that. We could just, do a quick stop, grab a sandwich.
Yeah, or two, or
Or four.
Who's the
I think you
fourth
guys
one
probably
for?
show up with a box of like 12 sandwiches in the end. Okay. Yeah, you walk into the Underhill. At this point, it is more busy than you've seen it, especially the last few days. The city has been very much on lockdown of recent, so it seems in the lower parts of the city, things go back to normal a whole lot faster. People are drinking in celebration. You can see some like very raggedy looking people have come out of the woodwork and are day drinking already in celebration of the tide sort of turning here in the city. And you see Varmox is not trying to be the center of the party. He's sitting against a wall, sort of toward the back of the bar. But there's just a congregation of people around him listening to him tell a story, and it seems like he's begrudgingly telling yet another story while trying to drink out of his big like barrel of alcohol. And as you're all walking in, he starts to like sniff the air with his big half-dragon face.
Has he found clothes since we last saw him, or is he still wearing his
He has found
caveman
clothes,
skirt? Oh, okay.
Yes, he has found clothes. Yeah.
Nice.
They're not substantial clothes. He's wearing like just like a leather doublet basically. Very rough, like almost like someone like put it together for him very hastily, like roughly sewn. And just like a big pair of leather pants and big huge boots.
Sleeves or no sleeves?
No sleeves, none at all.
Of course. Okay.
Big freaking muscles, yeah.
That was a
Huge
test.
biceps out, yeah. Biceps and shoulders for days. If he had sleeves,
Nice.
they would not. They'd rip off.
Nice. I'll go right up to him and wait till he finishes his story, and try to catch his attention, waving a sandwich.
Hello, friends. Give me that
Hello.
sandwich. Takes 2 out of the box.
Oh,
And perhaps-
Ados will take the sandwich and just hand it to Bula. He's not gonna eat that. Valmarx, you just take a drink with the nook of his elbow, the crook
Yes,
of
you
his.
did. Yeah.
Nice,
Thank
hell yeah.
Thank you.
Impressive, impressive.
Bula's kind of impressed by what's happening there.
Yeah,
Sandwich
that
in
gets
his
you.
hand.
Uh-huh.
Barrel of
Yep.
whiskey in his crook.
That even gets Ados,
Aggressively
yeah.
writing in journal.
What?
Barlock's
Where have you all been?
Oh, we've just been taking care of errands, and those errands have paid off famously. How would you like a job?
What kind of job?
Have you ever manned a boat before?
I've been an oarman a time or two.
How would you like to be the captain of a boat?
Sets his sandwiches down. Wipes his hands on his leather. Captain Barmox the Severed the Third reporting for duty.
Good man, good man. We will be seabound in 3 months-ish with our very own boat, and we need somebody to be in charge of it. I don't think any of us know how to run a boat, nor do we have any desire to. You seem like just a dragonborn for the job.
At that point, Bula just now realizes that Eidos is asking him to not only come along with us, but in a relatively small area where they're going to be together for a while, and she just fumbles her sandwich and almost drops it.
Oh yeah.
He's pushed his barrel of liquor over to you.
She says, thanks. Just kind of freaking out a little bit.
So, what kind of trouble are we getting into now? Got another jailbreak to accomplish?
That or worse. It's going to be dangerous, I'm not going to lie, but you seem like you're up for the task.
I've already been severed. Can't do it again.
You need a doublet that says that on the back. Perfect. I thought you'd be interested. We are going to leave on business for some time, but we'll either be back or send message to have you come pick us up. Not to make you sound like valet or anything, but I'll let the boat builders know that you will be in charge of the operation, if it pleases you, of course. If you accept.
Pleases me just fine. Is there a coin in it?
We sure hope so. We don't
I'll
even
take
know if
that.
there's. Great. The
I
sandwiches
owe you
are
a
on
favor.
us. There you go. There you go. I promise that if any coin comes my way, there's a cut in it for you.
You also get a place to stay on the boat, and I think
Eh?
we could probably set you up somewhere with Seraphina's, somewhere at least you could stay temporarily until the boat's fixed. Maybe Seraphina's parents could set you up with something for now.
I'm gonna
Temporary
need
lodging.
gonna need a big room. Looks at Bula.
She is just turning 45 different shades of green. And how hard she's blushing.
right,
Marley, thinking that she's getting sick or something, is gonna tap her and cast resistance.
Yeah, we'll make sure that they give you the captain's quarters is a nice big room to fit, 2 people maybe.
That
Are you
pleases me
bringing a
enough.
threat?
Oh. You never know.
The friends are gonna be made along the way, I think.
Bula visibly chokes on a piece of sandwich. She is just very unattractively coughing and spitting and trying to regain some level of control.
Well, I think I like it just fine here at the Underhill, so whenever it's ready, send someone my way to come pick it up and let me know where to meet you.
You got it. Thank you, Captain Varmox.
With the sandwich in his hand, salutes you.
Bula just makes as they're kind of turning to go, she makes the most awkward curtsy of all things at him. And as she turns around, she's like, "Did I just curtsy?"
What the fuck was that?
The rest of you see him bow very courtly.
The whole thing is just palpably awkward.
I see the aristocracy of Nurdistand is rubbing off on you.
Shut up, my nose. She's so embarrassed. She's walking away so fast.
All
Did
right.
you get all that on your notes there, Marley?
I did take quite a bit. From what I can tell, eating very, very quickly and being able to do cool cut parlor tricks with your arms is very, very helpful.
Yeah. Did you get any notes on Bula?
Only that she smiles very cutely when she's happy.
It's true. You might want to put down. She also likes to curtsy.
The curtsy did seem very effective, actually.
Okay. And with you all heading back to the minaret, one more time, we are going to go ahead and level up.
Yeah!
Ooh.
It's been a minute. All right. So before our next session, make sure you get those character sheets updated. And for the party out there, we'll see you all next time as we get into some more shenanigans. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.